Hey guys, welcome to the Paladins Masters Land. Of course, you guys qualified through the PGS, but the first thing I'm going to ask, relatively easy question. How's the travel? How are you enjoying it here?
The travel was amazing. Don't have any issues. We came here, and the Hi-Rez help us with anything that we needed. And for now, we were pressing to get the best position that we can get it here.
Awesome. I want to talk about what your guys' expectations are for this event, because at HRX, you were looking good. You didn't obviously win over Fnatic. You didn't have that historic run that Nocturnes were able to have, but you guys are getting a lot of respect. I'm noticing a lot of teams talking about scrimming you. You're looking stronger than ever. Do you guys realistically think that you can win this event?
Yeah, of course. We have been training so much for this event. Last time, we were really good against Fnatic, but then we faced another completely different meta, China, and we couldn't do anything about it. But we learned everything with the matches, and now we're strong, getting better, and we're showing the screens we can do it, so why not?
And, you know, speaking of learning the meta, the first team you're going to be playing up against is Gankstars. So the North American meta has always been, I think, a little bit more aggressive. Do you guys feel prepared for what Gankstars might have to throw at you?
Yeah, we have been training a lot against N18s. Gankstars, we used to screen against them, so we're ready for that. Let's do this.
Cool. Dyron, how do you guys prepare for an event? Because you guys have been to a couple of these lands now, getting better and better every time, but what is it that pushes you guys over to the edge to now you're getting so much respect from the other teams? People are scared to face you, talking about how strong you guys look. What has been different for you guys preparing for this event as opposed to some of the others?
I think it's a time that we are together, because when I came for HRX in the beginning of this year, I wasn't standing, I wasn't part of the team, and after the event I turned to be the official support, and now it's the first time that a Brazil team came completely and together, and the full team and practicing and focus for this land. It's different from the rest of the teams from Brazil that we came. So I think that we are prepared for that and different from them, and we are practicing for more than we can get.
So is there any one team at this event that you have your eyes on that they're going to be the ones that cause the most trouble for you? Or is it just kind of scattered across all of them?
I respect all of the teams, and I don't know, whenever we practiced once against Na'Vi was totally different against the North American teams, and I think we never played against E2, can be a surprise. Yeah. Probably these two.
So you guys do a lot of scrimming with the Burrito roster there. You know, regionally, it makes sense with the ping. Do you think it helps having a team like that to help make you guys better when they go and they do well? And do you guys kind of share strats, work together, or is it pretty close to the chest?
Yeah, they're everybody from Hater is amazing. They're all of our friends, and I remember last time when I was talking to Ekate, and he was telling me he was just in the semifinals because we were training with them. So it's really good to have a strong team with you, practice all over the week. So yeah, feels good.
I'm excited to hear it and excited to see you guys play, but go ahead, get ready for your games and have fun. Good luck on them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope I'm on. I think I'm being heard here. But we are excited to get into this game. Spacestation Gaming are one of my favorite teams to cast, Nick. And honestly,
yeah,
the
I mean, you at HRX, dude, you were like, can this team win it all?
Yeah, I really was. I had this feeling that they were this Nocturnes, but Nocturnes ended up being Nocturnes there, right? But they haven't.
Turns out.
But they haven't had their Nocturnes moment. The story of SSG is actually kind of enlightening. They had this team that was competing quite often in the high levels. We would cast them, and then Ares showed up.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys before FRZ got Rachel, Metal, Dyron were playing together, but then Ares showed up on this other team called Key to Victory, and he actually blew them away. One of the best Lexes we had seen, and then they ended up joining forces after his team actually beat them in one of the qualifying rounds for HRX. So it's cool to see them kind of saying, let's just put all our best players in one basket and see if we can get an international victory.
And this is the first time that we're scrimming them. This team's actually really strong. Space Station's looking pretty scary this time around. That's just never been heard before, and sort of the murmurings around the common area before the event, as well as FRZ God. He's getting mad props from the Burrito guys. He says
he's good, man.
He lives in a strict household, so he only plays a couple hours a day, but he's still insane. And this could be a big event for them because when you get that big victory, right? You come home with a lot of money. You say, Mom, Dad, look what I did. Look what I've accomplished. Can I play a couple more hours a day now?
I totally hear it. Once you kind of legitimize that, yes, this is real. There's money on the line. It changes everyone's perspective around you. You get more resources. People start flocking to it. But, for me, I guess the big question is Gankstars having a good performance. We saw them play in Vegas. Do you think, they're somebody to not look out for? I feel like they may have something that people aren't expecting.
I don't think Spacestation have that sleep on anyone type of mentality,
Yeah,
so I don't think they will be. I think Gankstars are going to have to face the full force.
Well, let's see what they had to say earlier on as they got ready for their game here.
What's up, boys? Welcome to the first day of the Masters LAN, but you guys have actually already played your first game. You had to compete in the PGS play-in against We Love Gaming, and you were able to, seems like, make pretty quick work of them 3-0. Talk me through how that match went. Are you guys feeling confident now with that 3-0 in your belt?
It was a nice setup for getting ready to play in the LAN situation, getting Jalen used to playing on above 60 hertz. Also nice to know that we can go in, play our game, try not to play to someone else's, and still succeed.
So, just looking back, you guys got to play at Vegas, so you got some LAN experience there against some of the top teams. Now you've come here, and like you said, you got Jalen in this time, so he's getting his experience already. Are you feeling like that's kind of helped prepare you for this next matchup against SSG?
I think so. We didn't have Jalen in Vegas, and I think it was a letdown. Kind of. We really wanted him because he is an amazing support. And finally, when we used him yesterday, it went all good. It was easy matchups, so we had our own draft, we played our own game, and I think he did really good.
So how are you guys feeling about your first matchup today at the Masters event?
We're not underestimating them at all. We know SSG's
That's a good idea.
Yeah. we know SSG's an amazing team. We know they get a LAN power up. We'd like to think we've done our research, and like I said, we're going to try to play our game, and hopefully that's what takes us where we want to be.
With the way things have been going for you guys, mainly just because it's kind of been rocky, I want to say, through the PGS, being able to kind of climb to the top, and then again at LAN, where you've had mixed success, being able to take games off of SK, but just not quite finding the wins you wanted. Are you feeling a little bit more prepared coming into this, specifically for this matchup, but also into the future?
Yeah, I think for us, going in, I don't think people are expecting us. And like I said yesterday,
that can be helpful though.
Yeah, it just plays on to everything. I think we get a free game. But yeah, nobody's expecting us. We go in, we want to win, and we got our own style of play, and I think we could take this.
Kresnik, you keep saying we're going to play our game. So far, I feel like every set has been so different. Watching the PPL finals yesterday, how far do you think your game can take you? And are you guys prepared to go deeper into some pocket strategies, maybe do something you're not entirely comfortable with to make your opponents have to play something that they're not comfortable with?
I think that the way we want to play will catch some people off guard. How far that will take us, I really don't know. We haven't been able to scrim all these very different playstyles. All these people coming in from these different regions. We've been hearing people are whisperings about different places. I heard this team plays Mochi. Things are coming from all over. We don't know. But I'm confident in the skills of our team. I'm confident in what we want to bring. I think the way we want to play this meta is the way that it should be played.
Well, it sounds like you guys are really prepared, but go ahead, get ready for your games. Thanks for coming in for the interview, and good luck.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Great to hear from Gankstars. They've got a cheery nature about them, kind of this youth that is yet to experience any of the sobering moments of adulthood, so to speak, and it got their whole lives ahead of them, and I'm excited about that. El Zulu, maybe he's close on the edge there.
He's great, man. I think it's a great group of guys. Frankly, a little bit of experience there now outside of Jalen. Obviously, the support there sitting in the middle. He was unable to make the Vegas event where most of his team did kind of play, get that first experience. A lot of them the first LAN. Not the case, though, for Envy and Zulu. Right. They do have some of these more veteran, seasoned players.
And I think, when you look at that, who are you giving the edge to in this set, Nick?
I think SSG, man.
Yeah.
Just based off the murmurings of what I've heard, they're sounding like they're going to be pretty scary.
And I think, at this point, one of the things that separated them, and I took note of, Aries said, we got faced with a weird meta. We did well against Fnatic, but then we got out because of China. And that is something that is, I think any team could fall to. You look at any team here, a weird China meta could throw you off for a set, and then if that's your do or die, you're gone.
I think it's pretty important to look at, it's weird to say, but like their support system for a lot of these teams, who they're scrimming with, who's like kind of like backing them up. If it's like the NA boys in the corner, and watching the PPL happen last season, there was a lot of that, especially with that Envy roster, with that Renegades roster that hadn't been there before, and all of a sudden they're up against Navi or Fnatic, and they're like looking at their other NA teams like, guys, help! What do we draft?
What do we do? But SSG, and I think with Nocturnes as well, what they did so well is they studied, they learned, they took the time to be aware of what the meta was, and then they put that drafting knowledge into good mechanical skilled players who now have no ping, who now are on land, who have belief in themselves, and that's how really that Nocturnes thing happened. I mean, they were prepared, they could draft, they could play, there was no weakness. It was just amazing play from Navi that separated them at Worlds.
I'm so excited for this matchup. I really think this could be a good one. I don't see it being a sweep. That was such a weird way for that Chroma Space Renegade series to go. It's so rare that you see 4-0s the whole way through until someone's crowned a winner here. Here are the bands now: Makoa, Ruckus, Sin, Cassie, Spacestation up with the first pick, and it'll be Strix.
Okay, so really prioritizing the Strix because they could have gone Kinessa here. I think this is the reveal. Must value the reveal and just value just being able to have vision in case any flanker does come around. And obviously, that's available for Gankstars to pick now.
Yeah, but no pressure. Obviously, I haven't seen a double sniper composition yet, but you never really know. Buck picked up as well. Buck's had such an up and down ride for receiving such minimal changes to me. I mean, it feels like Fnatic forced Bittner to play it every single time in Vegas, and then he didn't play it at all in their PPL Fall Finals. He's poking his head out a little bit now as we're coming back and kicking off the Masters. And remember, the Gankstars did have to win the PGS play-in. They were able to take down We Love Gaming, the EU representative, 3-0.
And those were all 4-0. So Gankstars are definitely ready to contend. They took a game off of SK at Vegas. You guys didn't see that, but they did. And so this is a team that can get wins. SSG is all murmurs, but we have seen Gankstars actually make W's.
And that's probably pretty important for them, right? Because Jalen Sanity wasn't there. This is Jalen's kind of first games in the LAN environment. They've been scrimming, obviously. They were trying to play some catch-up. But getting that first win, I think, is going to be really, really important to equalize this set and make it very competitive as we see Maeve go 7th. She's been a really hot topic as of late, but every set is so different.
And this meta is, it's not even long enough to really develop this set meta because you have one game. You could pick a pocket pick here. You're just trying to advance. These best of threes are going to go by so quickly. The first person to win a game here is going to be in a huge advantage to win the set. Bomb King now rounding things out for SSG, and that's something that you could see FRZ got piloting.
Yeah. And talking about FRZ God, he got a lot of respect from those Burrito guys. They think he could be one of the best players in the world if he's allowed to, put his full bore on practicing and becoming a Paladins player here and running with this SSG squad now. Brazil, this is, like Dyron said in their interview, the first time they're here with their full strength and have been practicing and training together for a long time, so they'll never be this formidable again.
And you know what I like about this? It's like the first pick Strix where you're like, well, there's 2 snipers. Do we really need to first pick a sniper? Could we go for something else there? But I just like it. It sets the tone. It's like, yo, I want to play Strix. This is kind of what Akate would do earlier on. He'd say, I just want Kinessa. And then everyone's like, well, they're playing a sniper. We have to play around that. And that puts Gankstars in like a situation where they're always thinking about your draft, not necessarily thinking about theirs.
Whether or not the research was done from SSG, Envy likes to play these snipers as well. That man right there on your screen, and he can be quite formidable on them. You get those snipers without any sort of way to deal with it, it can absolutely win you a game on Frog Isle.
I mean, they don't have a sniper though, Nick. Do you agree with that? Gankstars draft there?
I think the Maeve the Buck will be enough dive to get it, but it's going to be tough.
All right, well, let's send it to the casters. Game 1 starting now. SSG versus Gankstars.
I feel like right in the end, Evan was trying to bait some hateful words about Barrick from Nick, and he was like, nope, not even going to touch it.
Oh, you give it the flank versus flare. Will the sight from that flare actually be able to catch them out and maybe give that advantage, or will Maeve actually get back there to shut that down? But SSG definitely look like they have been doing what they've been saying, which is playing Burrito a lot.
I'm very stoked for this matchup because Gankstars, despite being a PGS team, has had plenty of opportunities to play against PPL teams, and now with their full roster. And on the opposite side, SSG is one of the teams that PPL teams have mentioned as actually being a worry for them within Masters. It's usually been SSG or Burrito.
And after talking to Gankstars, you could definitely kind of feel that even though they were able to go to Vegas and they were really excited and happy about it, they felt the pain of not having Jalen there. So having him here, to them, has made a huge difference, not only getting him to play one game already, but just having that, I guess, comfort of knowing that your support's there. Someone who is very essential to the team is going to be one of the pillars still standing for you. And I'm interested to see how exactly this is going to work out, because Genos with a Mave, with a Buck, can be ridiculous.
And very strong in that first set that they played yesterday, moving on forward with this aggressive composition. On the side of Space Station Gaming, though, all eyes are on Matau with this Strix. We've seen it before plenty of times throughout the PGS phases where he's just rocked this sniper.
And immediately the fight kind of starts over on the side, but you can see Gankstars are the ones that move up, get aggressive. Half health right now for Neo, but not enough. Actually going to be perfect with a bomb flying through. Finally going to clean that out, and first blood goes the way of Space Station.
Boom goes the Bomb King to start it all off, and there's another kill for him onto Envy. So Space Station Gaming showing a lot of strength and flexing those muscles.
3 kills all onto one person. This Bomb King being formidable and just setting it up, immediately aggressive. They move in, take the point, get their front lines in your face, and you can see the distraction. No one's looking at Bomb King. He's still free firing from the right.
And now at the point where Anar is having to put up the wall to blockade Space Station Gaming from coming so aggressively. And that's not great, because you're also putting that space between you and the objective, of course, making it to it finally, but El Zulu ends up getting knocked out with the combination of that hit from Matau.
A nice jump shot. All you have to do is find a couple more, but keeping everyone real low. Flashbang goes out. Mave cannot see, stuck behind a tree. Envy trying to come around the side, but not going to find too much right here. 96%, but Space Station have moved away and kind of given Gankstars a little bit of room so they can go in with a King Bomb.
And he actually gets a stun onto Envy, throwing out the dynamite, blasts him away once more. 99% for Space Station Gaming, ready to rotate back onto the objective. Overtime sets on through time and space not connecting in the way that they wanted it to, and there you have it. Space Station Gaming with the first point of the game.
I admire the aggressive poppy bomb, just trying to get someone knocked off. If you can, whether or not it works is always going to be up in the air, but now you're getting aggressive, you're going around the side, you end up losing one Terminus, but honestly, for the price of a payload, it's not the end of the day, and especially because they're doing this in such a perfect way. You're either looking at the front lines, they're drawing all attention to them, then you start looking at Bomb King. This Strix has gone unnoticed for a lot of this. Early on was, let's get back there, let's take care of him. Since then, he's just been getting 1,200 shots for free.
And right now, FRZ got eliminated, but right before that, it was actually identical 6 streaks for him and the Strix. And I think that shows a combination of having somebody right there in the front and the back. But Envy missing a couple things earlier, including net shots, but right now just got the triple kill, so that should slow the pacing.
Has the Buck Wild available as well. Probably not going to use it anytime soon, especially with this kind of positioning. This is Gankstars knocking, dismounting, and doing whatever they can, but there's going to be the ult and the kill. Buck didn't have too much of a chance to get out of there.
In your face. Well, bringing his face closer to Khan, actually, in the way that interaction works, but because of that, now starting to gain a little leeway on the actual payload. Aries getting aggressive. Nice hits onto the Mave, but luckily for Neo, finds some safety, and you hear the Dread Serpent. Actually, a nice stun onto the Barrack, and Kresnik goes down.
And that was just perfect. I mean, Aries just sits there and mows him down with his machine gun, getting everything set up as best he can. Now they're going to be going around. Nice grumpy bomb placement coming through the corners, and just playing the angles on this map well. Gets the stun, and gets a couple more kills for the team.
Now about 55 seconds to go, and with 3 members down for Gankstars, you can make a lot of leeway on this payload, probably set it up for just that straight line push in the end. Maybe wait for a really strong team fight, or Gankstars might honestly try and conserve their resources as much as possible and not blow a bunch of ultimates for what's seeming to be very convincing at this moment.
Yeah, at this point you can let it roll in if you want, although they do throw out the seismic crash, so they're going to commit. There's going to be the stun. There's the through time and space as well, getting picked up. 2 kills, at least going to stall off Space Station for a little bit. No shots hitting. That's going to be Freeze God next on the list.
I like it for Gankstars. That was just actually a bit of coordination coming through with their ultimates. Luckily, they got that value. Matau is way off into the back. Not exactly the kind of champion that you're expecting to go and just step right back onto the payload, so they might have to give this up.
Looking to try and come around the side. 5 seconds left, so you need to get on that payload fast, and you're going to be able to touch down, get an overtime. Reanimate actually comes through. This looks like Space Station want to go for the full commit. Bomb King comes through with the King Bomb, and they're blowing him up.
Actually gets a double kill for Rashao after that reanimate, and the walls are going up from Anar, attempting to actually blockade this push, but nonetheless, Matau picks one up, FRZ God picks one up, Rashao picks himself up onto that high ground to get in pursuit of Gankstars, and that is a 2-0 for Space Station Gaming.
That was a roller coaster of a round. I honestly thought Space Station were maybe going to try, jump on, get the overtime, but not full commit the way they did. It ends up working out, but again, you have to look at the way things went. What you were mentioning just before all of that ended up happening was the fact that Gankstars used a lot of their ults for the defense. Now, Space Station used a lot of their ults just to get the push, and now they're both coming in with like 1, maybe 2 ults on either side to try and give them an advantage here, and it's going to be comeback mechanic for Gankstars, which is going to give them just a little bit of an extra push as long as they can stay on that point.
Luckily, those ultimates from Gankstars weren't at the extreme tail end of that fight, so it did allow them to get a bit back on to their actual charges, 51% for Seismic Crash, 33% for Buckwild, which he can actually charge up fairly effectively if he's hitting his shots. But nonetheless, you look at the opposite end, they don't have those resources either. So Space Station Gaming want to have a little bit of a delay before they get too aggressive movement. Sal forced to go into stealth because he's getting some shots in the back of the head, but Envy gets punished.
I really like what Envy did there. I mean, he has the Master Riding, specifically get back, get the sniper as fast as you can. Unfortunately, didn't quite work it out. It seems like they're playing protect the sniper. Not going to work all the time. Mido does go down, but he does get a lot of value. Neo, Maeve no longer there, and Jalen just blown off the map.
Dread Serpent thrown out by Space Station Gaming, looking for the follow-up. 74% for Gankstars with that comeback mechanic, but it's getting stagnated and stopped right now. FRZ got in pursuit of this buck and bucks away into the grave for the time being, joining Barrick.
Being able to slowly but surely take back control. 74% for Gankstars right now, which is keeping, I want to say, pressure on Space Station. They have to stay around the point. They have to stay focused, make sure no one slips around. And specifically when it comes down to it now, they have to be a little bit worried about a Seismic Crash and a through time and space, either comboed or just on their own with what they can do. Envy not able to touch down in time.
Tried to jump through, but couldn't get his feet on the ground through time and space. Almost out of a little bit of rage for himself. But look at Ares on that 10 streak. A King Bomb from the opposite end. Who's he going to go ahead and target? Actually gets the stun onto Kresnik. That's 2 down for Gankstars.
And immediately focuses down, gets the kill, turns around. El Zulu, a lot of that damage, a lot of that setup was on the back of this Bomb King, and now just going for the Hail Marys, throwing them as far as he can, but setting it up so Gankstars are going to have trouble leaving their base.
About 2 minutes to go on this push potential. Streaks flying nice and hot for Space Station Gaming. Everyone except for Xiao at this time. But FRZ God's doing tremendous things on the Bomb King.
And just with the way he's been set up, I mean, we've been seeing a lot of kind of King's new cloak, a little bit more points here into King's court as well, just being able to kind of keep himself alive, not having to worry about his team. But of course, reinforced casing has been the talk of the town. Just 70% crowd control and slow reductions, too good, and it just allows you to do stuff like this way more often.
Oh, so even if you get hit by something like a Seismic Crash, it's not going to matter as much. That's 4 down for Gankstars. All that's left is Inara, and she is tanky, and she's sticking around. But I don't know if that's going to be enough to keep Space Station Gaming from closing on that space. A Dread Serpent to actually finish it off, and they walk away with the first victory of the set.
It definitely looked like it was going to be a little bit more rocky, I want to say, for them with the way that first round went. Very much back and forth. A very heavy commit towards the end of that round just to get them that 2-0. And then they just foot to throat. They were ready to go. They knew where the aggression needed to be placed, and Gankstars didn't quite seem collected enough to take them down.
No, that was just a tremendous performance from Space Station Gaming and knowing exactly when they should close those gaps, when they should back off. And Gankstars had some moments of trying to approach it with synergy. I liked some of the ultimate use when they were attempting the defense in round number 1, but that's why I was questioning beforehand. So I don't know if they're going to use it or if they're just going to let it roll through, and they tried and it failed.
And Space Station show off something that we always end up talking about, where it's like, well, is this person going to stand out or is this person going to stand out? They had the exact opportunity that they needed, where it's like, okay, all 3 of these guys are doing really, really well right now, and you can't focus on any one of them. If you look over here, you're suddenly taking damage from over there. You couldn't isolate a single target.
Well, I thought Space Station Gaming was looking pretty good in game number 1. Let's find out what the Dust thinks.
I mean, kind of unimpressive. No, I'm kidding. Great stuff from them. Honestly, Space Station Gaming are looking as good as people thought they would.
Yeah, I mean, you
maybe better.
That sniper, right? You get FRZ got going really early, which is pretty important, I think, for the younger guys to get that mentality right early on and have that momentum going for themselves early. They don't have to worry about, oh my God, what are people saying about me? You know, we had expectations on it, and SSG, this could easily be their breakout land.
It really could, and now 1 win away, it looks like this should be a game that they clean up. This is not a 4-0 where you say, are we going to run this back? Are
Gankstars going to 4-0 again now?
Yeah, but I think Gankstars, you know, obviously maybe caught off guard. I think the draft wasn't good by Gankstars, but I want your thought on that. Not taking the sniper and then the double flank on a Frog Isle map where flanks already have some challenges breaking through those corridors. What did you think about that?
I think if that's what they're comfortable with, it's something that can absolutely work. However, it's one of those team comps where it's like, if they don't play perfectly, if they don't hit their win conditions, then they just lose every other scenario, right?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Doctor Strange, like, you know, trying to play out all of the possible scenarios for his team.
Yeah.
And there's only one that works.
Right, and that's the problem because at this point in time, they have only one game to make it work. Obviously, FRZ God had a fantastic performance. We knew it was going to come through when we saw the Bomb King, and he definitely does not disappoint.
9.3 KDA, dude.
And the maneuverability and sometimes just
I don't even like Bomb King on that map, dude.
yeah, I mean, Bomb King I think is okay on. I don't know. I kind of like him on Frog. I actually really liked what Khan and him were doing together. Aries actually shifting onto that role. I love the way he's playing. It's super aggressive, and he's like, all right, I'm your Genos. I'm your damage amp, and I'm your protection as well. Let's roll 2 beefy, thick boys running into the backside, and who's going to stop us?
Very heavily armored, very, very deadly, very lethal. SSG have that flexibility. We talked about how, you know, Aries can do such great things. FRZ God, he gets the team going with a beautiful stat line in that first game, and it's about bouncing back. This is a double elimination event, so no one's going home after this set in particular. However, there is still an opportunity, and I think if you're Gankstars, you want to drag this out as long as you can just to get as much games in and get as much experience as you can and learn as much as you can about your team on LAN, about this team on LAN, because you'll have to beat them at some point if you want to win.
You definitely will. Metal onto that sniper. I haven't been casting Brazil in quite a while, so Metal, last time I saw him, was playing support. And Aries was absolutely on the damage carry. But this time around, wonder if that's just the flexibility of this roster showcasing
That's
itself.
what I don't know quite
Or
yet.
if that's what they've done. They've switched roles.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where it's all going to end up. It's hard to say. Not a lot of team making drastic role swaps just yet this event. I think that's probably close to it in terms of what we've seen. I think Aries, if it comes down to it, will still play, you know, those certain picks. If we see Alex at some point, maybe it'll still be him. But I think it's more about what champion is that needs to be played.
Well, it's Bright Marsh now. We saw the only map today prior to this set in Frog Isle. Actually, Frog Isle was 4-0'd as well. So every set we've seen the same maps, and they've all been 4-0s. Quite wild. And I think Bright Marsh here has a chance for, if Gankstars, to ban something in their comfort zone. Because El Zulu, he is comfortable when he has the close range. His tank can make a lot more of an impact. He wasn't really able to affect the damage, which was from the long range of Metal and the way that Khan was protecting FRZ God. So here I think he'll have a better chance.
They're going to need their front line if they're going to win this set. I think the front line here, pretty veteran, frankly. Kresnik and Zulu carry a pretty big reputation with themselves. Bright Marsh are definitely going to be able to close it up a little bit, slow the game down, I think, and maybe make a more concise plan that they'll be able to easier execute, because they didn't draft a very easy to execute composition in game number 1.
And it's like drafting is really just putting yourself in a position to win. And I think, you know, when you look at your draft, you want to say, all right, we have 5 things out of 8 that could happen that could give us a result in a win. And if you do that, you've won the draft. If the other team has more things that could result, then you've lost the draft, but you could still win. You could still do that one thing. Unfortunately, we didn't see Gankstars come through with the best of drafting here. SSG said they put a lot of time into this meta. It is proving to be true.
Ruckus will go first. Expecting some frontline bans here on Bright Marsh for sure. SSG, they take out the Shaolin. That's definitely a power pick for Envy. And he's another important one. We talked about the front line, but shutting down Envy is going to be important as well. He is a big veteran. He's played in the PPL. He is a really just mechanically insane player. And talking about the fact that he was moved off that roster, the PPL, I don't think it was anything wrong. I think it maybe just not fitting in with those guys, not meshing with their play styles, because I haven't seen anything that makes me want to bench a player like Envy.
He's definitely a good player, man. You cannot take that away from him. And at this point, you do have to consider, where are you drafting around? You know, Zulu's got to take some priority here with the tanks, but last time they really let their tanks go to the very end. And at this point, SSG as well, making really, I think, Gankstars who have done a little bit of understanding of their styles, ban out either a Drogos or a Bomb King, which is just a big thing that not all teams have going for them as far as their blaster play.
I actually really like the Drogos ban. However, the first pick of Nara, letting the Makoa go, it's always a risk. It's always like, oh my God, I can't believe you've done this. But it's like they know what they're doing. They do know what they're doing.
Look at that smile, man.
Got a plan for it. Aries is probably feeling
He's
pretty
like,
good
what,
about
Makoa Cassie?
I wonder if we'll see. You know, there's obviously still Nan on the table, but I'm hearing good things about Khan being a good way to just break that hook, to cleanse it with the CC immunity. And they've really targeted out FRZ God, it seems. The Bomb King picked up early for the Gankstars, well as Drogos banned out.
And again, you could take the Khan and counter to the Bomb King, counter to the Inara, and counter to potentially being void gripped before you could step onto the point. You could cleanse yourself and then walk into that Bright Marsh room around the corner. There's a lot of things that Khan works well with here. So as a secondary tank, I like that option, but you still got Fernando on the table. I don't know if I think here's how I think about giving up Makoa. Oh, yeah, well, it's not that bad. We know what we're doing. But whenever you get beat immediately after by the Makoa, you're like, why do we give him the Makoa? And I think that is always going to be the case here if SSG just know how to pilot this thing and play around it.
Have to see a strong frontline terminus taken as well. Fernando still on the table, Khan as well, if they want it. Gankstars with a couple decisions left to be made. Not a whole lot has necessarily been shown with this composition. They do have the Genos, which opens the door, or the 3 DPS if they want to continue running that. Perhaps an Androxus. We know Envy is a pretty lethal hit scan player. No snipers on this map. His Shaolin's already banned out. He plays a decent amount of Xin for the squad as well. So frankly, I wouldn't be too surprised. However, it doesn't have that Drogos. It doesn't have that clear, like, this is why we're picking Andro type of matchup. If anything, it would come down to a comfort thing for me.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it's great into here, but obviously it's just really depending on the player. The buck goes once more, and that will most likely be
Look at these comms, man. They're
on Envy.
A little frantic. I don't know. How are you reading that?
I'm reading it as, you know, this is what I think is better. I think someone has an ideal, and I don't know if it will come to play. I think someone just has a very clear, concerned kind of conversation going on because their backs against the line. And Niu, you know, let's talk about it. He's played a lot of Bomb King. He played a ton at Vegas, and they almost played it every single game. So this could be definitely a big factor here, but the Mave, something that Aries has played so much in his past. I wonder if that will be on Mittal, and they'll put Aries again on one of the front lines.
Perhaps. I think so, quite honestly. I think, if anything, I think Mittal's been playing mostly Cassie. FRZ God strikes me as the Mave for this lineup. We'll have to see. Never really know until you load in a game, because Mave is frankly kind of a new-ish thing still for everyone. It's going first. Sometimes it's being banned. Sometimes it's being 10th picked. This has been all over the place.
It's really...
But that's what's cool about, I think, having that, you know, that long-standing, stagnant competitive environment where people get to really flesh out and find a lot of strategies.
And you know what I think is great about this lineup is that they do have much more in the pocket on Bright March with Bomb King, with Buck, with Khan. That really favors them. But SSG are looking good, and that last pick, Mave, could be trouble. Let's into the casters and get ready for game 2.
Here we go. Game number 2. Space Station Gaming ahead with 1 game under their belt. I'm liking what they're bringing to the table.
And I like the shift they've made. It's like one of those things where it's like, okay, well, Bomb King worked really well for us. We don't need it. I feel that's partially why Gankstars kind of swooped it away, something that we used to see on LAN all the time. I mean, either first ban, first pick. And if he made it through, teams were just scrambling to get him. Kind of fell off, but still has the same performance if you can play him properly.
So we'll have to see exactly who is on what after that draft, because Mittal on the sniper during game number 1, very effective, and I do believe I've also seen him on things like the Cassie, so it would make sense if they want to keep him on that comfort. El Zulu on the Inara makes sense, standing strong as the frontliner, goes to the objective right away to meet the hubby Rashao on the opposite end.
Might as well just run it back. Terminus worked well last time. This time, though, he's not off to the best start immediately. First blooded Jalen gets credit for that one, and it feels like he just got separated. That wall was perfect.
Yeah, that was just great coordination from the side of Gankstars. Mittal is actually on the Mave right now, getting some nice shots onto Neo, and with the help of FRZ God, manages to close it out.
A lot of those daggers being able to connect. If I think maybe one more second, that last shot from Cassie definitely cleaned it up, but I think that dagger could have connected, and just as well as he's connecting now, gets rid of El Zulu, gets aggressive, and immediately they're pushing him back. Aries now on the Makoa, and I love the way these front lines are playing. They just get in their face immediately.
But this is also why things like the Mave have been so popular, because you can just eliminate one of the heavy frontliners right off the bat like that. You saw how sticky Inara was for so long. But Gankstars have made the rotation back towards the objective, waiting for the opening. As Space Station Gaming past that 70% mark, Aries here on the Ancient himself.
And specifically for Khan, that Mave is going to be able to eat through that shield. He's never going to feel as safe. El Zulu is going to be the main target no matter what, just because Inara is so tanky. But that's going to be Space Station Gaming being able to pull that one back, just take control.
And Kresnik on this Khan. Khan has always been brought as a secondary frontliner so far within this LAN and during Las Vegas, so you are still going to focus, as you said, on the Inara for that actual point control. But Space Station Gaming with the capture, moving on forward with the push as well. Still continuing with some of that aggression, but Jalen's Sanity and Envy picking up some kills.
Being able to do pretty much what they did during that first map as well, where it's okay, Space Station in control, the point maybe goes a little shaky. Finally, Gankstars on the payload, they get a good defense, but that's when Space Station came back and threw a lot of ults at them and ended up pushing it through. So that's going to be the question as to whether or not that ends up happening here. With the CC immunity they have, it's going to help for things like the Dread Serpent. It's going to help for a lot of the stuff that normally would give Space Station way more control.
And we got to give it to Gankstars for their current positioning, actually kind of turning the aggression in their favor. But you saw on the side, Kresnik actually got eliminated, burned down by Cassie as well, and through time and space, attempting to pick something up, but Spacestation Gaming are the ones with a couple kills in their pocket, some afforded vision as well.
Being able to get a little bit of healing and now getting aggressive. There's going to be the Dread Serpent. Envy caught off on the side. King Bomb charged up, though, and Neo's going to be coming in, but he doesn't hit anybody. No, he hits Mito, but it doesn't do anything.
Just gets popped immediately after, and Jalen now facing a little bit of the same problem, rotating in between multiple members of Spacestation Gaming, and I really enjoyed that Dread Serpent just going ahead and separating the buck, and there was a damage dealer right there to see that passageway exactly where he was running into.
And that's just map knowledge and just control and recognizing the skill of your team. Now you're getting aggressive on the side. Envy, once again, the first one to go down, but you have 2 members relatively low. There's going to be one, maybe Inara following up as you're just getting pincered. Maeve on one side, Cassie on the other. Where do you look? You can't turn anywhere.
Yeah, Kresnik doesn't know which way to go. Even throws up the board and is not enough, and that's going to be a second point for Spacestation Gaming. They're just on a roll right now. And even though Gankstars for a second were managing to hold a little bit, as soon as they got a couple picks in the favor of red, it was just snowball.
And they got that one, I want to say, a little bit easier than it took for the first time when they got that 2-0. So now rolling into this one, maybe more comfortable, especially knowing that, well, Inara, even though she was standing on the point, we were able to get rid of her. 30% there, going to be 60, 70% here if Gankstars can do it again. And that's going to be their strength. Comeback mechanic and Inara. Just keep her there, keep her alive, and you should be able to take this and hold it back. Spacestation are going to do whatever they can to uproot her.
And El Zulu is expected to be able to get some of that impact for his team, especially going into the second round with comeback mechanic. I think that's one of the things that Spacestation Gaming has to be most worried about. They gave plenty of time during the first round to wait for their best point of initiation. It's just going to have to come a little bit sooner this next time. But this was Rochelle on the Terminus, and I like the way that he was positioning himself for a majority of it.
Pretty similar to what happened the first time, except this time not dead, being able to stay alive and actually move in. And Nara not even forced off, although now half health, going to be a little bit more troublesome to get back in there. Ares low, held in place, going to get taken down by the Bomb King, but immediately there's an answer.
Man, this is just a really nice pick, being able to focus on these isolated targets and having those answers available, having that moment where instead of going and fleeing and worrying about the pressure that's being applied, instead you turn it around, you actually track the enemy members and punish them.
I don't think there's a much more satisfying noise than when a bomb connects to somebody. When you hear that plop and it sticks, you're able to do something about it. But right now, looking at 94%, 98% trying to charge it up. King Bomb's ready. 99% for Space Station. Someone has to get in there and touch.
Overtime setting on down 99%. Space Station Gaming still looking strong, and that's going to be your capture. Moving on forward.
A little questionable, I want to say, for Gankstars. I mean, no one really tried to get in there. At that point, although Bomb King was the only one who really could get aggressive, try to attack, it was just in this area of, do you risk your life? You know you're rolling into 5. It's not going to be worthwhile. Now you have to fall back a little bit, but that payload's just rolling. You get a couple kills. This is the same way the defense started last time. You have 2 members right now that are not dying on Space Station. You have to find out how to get rid of them now.
Mitao, Dyron, 0 kills to their name. FRZ God just falling only 1 time so far. Such consistent play from all of them. And Jalen Sanity, he's attempting to spread himself. You see himself actually just dishing out those heals through time and space, often actually chunking through some of the HP, but it's not enough to connect in a way that the rest of the team's able to close it.
Now just going around the side, Cassie getting aggressive. Freeze God specifically getting a lot of poke around, but that scout giving vision and a little bit of movement speed for him to get aggressive. And nice shots, a nice burst, gets rid of Envy, and that has been the starter for the fight every single time.
Time for a little bit of follow-up. Kresnik ends up falling, and it's a minute 25 on the clock. FRC God making that streak into 12. There's just a lonely El Zulu wanting some buddies, but nowhere to look or hide, and finally staggered out.
If you were watching this and you were wondering whether or not Space Station were here to play, they are. And there's a good reason that a lot of teams are worried about them. I mean, just look at this. Gankstars, full roster, feeling a lot better coming into this one today. And right now, it is looking like it might be another 4-0 to knock them down into the bottom bracket. Space Station are in control, but they do have one more fight they have to win at least before they can push this payload home.
Payload once again knocking on the front door, and they've been saving those ultimates throughout the past minute. And here's actually the Buckwild on the opposite end with the seismic crash, but El Zulu gets punished. Mitao picking up that one, a trade back and forth, but FRZ God. He's found a target, and he's ready to continue for his team. Aries with a double kill on the turtle, and Space Station Gaming pick up the set victory.
Just being able to run in, run them down, feeling a lot confident about that as well, being able to showcase that they have multiple picks, exactly what you expect out of a team that's coming here and looking to try and take a win. They're coming in looking strong, and pretty good reason that there's been some talk about why people should be worried about Space Station.
Like we said before, Space Station Gaming and Burrito were the #1 named teams by PPL teams as far as that international threat. And it's good for everyone when these teams manage to show out as well, right? For Paladins, you want that high level of competition. But of course, selfishly, if you're one of the players in the NA or EU teams, you're thinking, I mean, you can go and show out, just don't do it against us.
That's like, well, we want you to win, because it'd be great for you. But also, if Gankstars win, then at least we would have been able to know what we were facing. Now, you're going into this with kind of some question marks as whether or not you could, in this next matchup, take down SSG, and whether or not they're just going to be too strong for you.
Yeah, so SSG moving on through this portion of the bracket. Let's send it over to Evan and Nick at the desk.
All right. There we go. I am back here. I just knocked over something. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I was like,
That's why we can't have nice things.
that's why we can't have nice things, because I just knocked over. But you know what? I think knocking over competition, that's a great segue here. Aries and the rest of the place of SSG, dominant.
Yeah, I mean, pretty incredible stuff from them. The draft had some things that had us guessing a little bit. Giving up Makoa, you have to have a plan for it. And it looked like Inara was that plan, right? That's the first pick. But then to not combo it with Maldamba, right, that sort of sets up that win condition. It just makes Inara so hard to kill, almost impossible to kill, to the point where, you know, Navi was complaining about it yesterday. And that's a World Championship team. And if you're not going all in, I think, on your first pick, on your big win condition, it's a little strange.
I think the big king is Mattel, and how well he's been able to play, to pilot the Mave, to be able to be this kind of game changer and come in as a damage role that's flexible, that's confident, that's picking these picks that, you know, Strix and Mave, that's not a normal kind of carry lineup that you would see over the course of a set, but that's what he wanted, and that's what he did so well with.
And you know what, man? Yes, they gave up Makoa, but it still felt like it was just FRZ God and Mattel. Just
it did.
Really strong play, and that's what's scary, is because how do you adjust to that? How do you adjust to these guys just being so much better?
Yeah, I think that's the big key as well. You know, trying to get better is one thing. And they have, you know, again, more games to play. This is not the end of it all. No one's going home yet, but this is a great warm-up. This is a great wake-up call for the people who are going to be watching and then hopefully playing against them. I think they'll be playing against G2 later on, and that's going to be a lightning set.
Should be the last set of the day. Should be a really, really exciting one. And this is, frankly, to be a little bit of I was like, this is either going to be a really good set, or I think SSG are going to stomp, because they've just been really, really scary, it sounds like, in the scrims and the way that they've been preparing Dyron, saying this is the first time that Brazil has had that full roster that has been playing together for a long time. You know, they have to make those little last session switches here and there for HRX. They didn't have their full strength, and now it really goes to show when they are able to arrive with everything that they've got, they're incredible.
Well, what's scary too is, I think, you know, and this is what happened with Nocturnes, it's this drafting has been so far the key for me. You know, you look at a team, I think even with Chroma Space, right? They were out drafting. Game 1, they out drafted Renegades. And Renegades said, we did something weird in the draft you just don't do. We're not going to tell you what it is, but we didn't do it because But we don't do it. And then at the end of the day, you know, you look at this, and I mean, Aries was smiling when he got Makoa and they got Cass. He was like, all right, okay, sounds good. And I think when you have a team that's coming from Latin America who has not yet had that international presence here, when they're drafting better than a lot of the teams here, that's scary.
Yeah,
because we know they could play.
And I think what was fun about the Nocturnes run at HRX was because they were doing it with like Leons and Kinesis and their stuff. And now it's like SSG, it's like, I think their stuff is pretty much what everyone else's stuff too. I think they're going to be just as scary on these big power picks. They're not going to have to do it with any Torvald Moji cheese action.
Exactly.
It's just going to be hitting you with what you want harder than you can do it.
I mean, a lot of teams, you know, they're looking at like, hey, we had to play Gankstars, but a lot of teams were like, well, you know, maybe we didn't want to play Renegades, but now I don't think we at all wanted to play SSG. I'm glad we did not get bracketed with them. It's going to be G2's task now, coming off a pretty upset win against Fnatic, a loss against Fnatic in the finals of yesterday's Paladins Spring Finals. It will be a test that maybe, you know, not when they want it yet. That's not an easy first set to go into, I would imagine.
Absolutely not. And G2... It is not an easy first set to go into, but again, this double elimination, so it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited for Space Station. I think they can really compete with some of the best teams here.
This is such a cool storyline. I can't wait to follow it. And for more on that, let's send it over to an interview with the Space Station boys.
Congratulations to both of you for winning that set. My first question is, were you expecting it to be as strong a victory as it was?
We already had practice against Gankstars a few times, and was a good screens, good practicing, because the type that North American teams plays is different from Brazil, so it's kind of new for us for a while. But then we got used to, and was cool. It was great. It's not a
You showed a lot of versatility in your draft, and I think the one thing that might have caught you off guard would have been the con, but did you guys already know how we're prepared to deal with that one once it was drafted?
no, but just with
Yeah, of course. We have been using a lot of things lately, and we're prepared for any pick. So the can is something we're using, we're training, and we're ready for anything.
Can I complete it for one thing? When we arrived here, we not got used to about MIV so constantly. In Brazil, that doesn't exist. In Brazil, it's more Telus, it's not MIV. And when we got it here, we saw that MIV was a big thing, and we needed to improve the spec and maybe sometimes mans, I don't know. And it's the most thing that we can we needed to adjust us when we arrived here.
And we mentioned a couple times during the broadcast that when we've asked PPL teams about what international teams are worried about, it's usually the mention of SSG or Burrito. So when you're thinking about the fact that you have those picks that are more popular in other regions compared to what you're used to, have you spent a lot of time preparing for that difference?
Yeah, we have the Brazilian community, we have been training with them, but Burrito is our main screen, and after the HRX, we saw everything we are doing was really good, and we need to keep it up. And just the time. Now we're really feeling great, and people are screaming us. The other people, Europeans and NA, and now they know we're strong, and we're coming here, getting closer, and be ready.
And speaking of Burrito, I mean, you guys have mentioned that you've been scrimming them a lot. You guys have become really good friends. Are you excited for their next matchup against Envy?
Of course.
I think there's a lot of exciting matches ahead, and that last one being as quick as it was. Some were expecting it to happen, some were not. But as far as moving forward within this bracket, what are you most worried about with the teams?
About play against with?
Yeah, anyone that you're worried about having to face off against or any type of comp.
It's like I said in the previous interview, I think G2 or Navi can be surprising, because Navi is the world champion, and we played once and it was a good match. And G2 we never played with, so we don't know what to expect. We just expected them, so can be a good match. I don't know.
You had also mentioned earlier that you played a lot of North American teams. You'll scrim them a lot. Are the European teams just bringing something different that you're still trying to figure out how exactly their drafting phase goes through?
It's not the draft. It's more the way that they played. It's totally different. It's more play style. It's more a group up. It's different. The North American is more aggressive. It's kind of different. That was the point that when we played against Navi, we suffered a little bit. And then with time, we got used to, like we did with the North American.
So an interesting thing about Paladins is when you look at the stats, there's actually a very large Brazil population that plays the game. Do you feel that in a fan base when you are competing?
Sure, but there's some problem in Brazil. If you lose, you are the worst. If you win, you are the best. But there's a lot of people supporting us right now, and we're feeling great. We're bringing them this victory. We're playing for them. So keep watching, guys, and keep supporting us.
The people who sometimes judge us is the people that is not in the competitive way. It's not doesn't try to be a professional in the game. But all the professionals from Brazil, they all support us in a group and give positive vibes and things like that. That's important.
Well, once again, congratulations on your win here today, guys, and congrats and good luck for the rest of the tournament.
Thank you.